you need the click. Yo, that click is gonna be so loud, bro. You're right by the mic.
And this thing.
It's fine though.
But I honestly, I just need
the waveform.
Yeah, I just need the waveform because what I do when I'm editing, I cut it out.
Yeah,
and then I match.
Auto sync and then you match.
There's no auto sync.
Oh, manually sync and then you cut it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tough.
Let's get you a laptop, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, bro.
Anyway, yo, man, this sucks. It was short. What is happening, beautiful people? Ikamalam Usipili, and welcome to the 14th episode of Writings on the Wall. I've been moving, eh? I'm moving. 14, I've been moving, yeah. I'm moving from 1, 2, 3, 10. Now it's 14. Yeah. So for today's episode, I've got bro. Doesn't need no introduction. Adrian, but I wanna do something with your permission, of course. Remember we spoke the last time you came for the episode when I was asking like how would you introduce yourself and whatnot. So can I ask you now to introduce yourself? I know it's very unusual. Yeah, very unusual.
Sure. Okay.
For you to introduce yourself to the people who might not know who you are.
My name is AdrianSilas. Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you want me to elaborate a bit, yeah. I am a voiceover artist. I am a music producer, video spokesperson, and all-round freelancer and business owner.
The CV. You forgot the one thing. Physio.
I forgot many things.
But physio.
But physiotherapist.
Yeah, because I remember when I was introducing you, I also forgot physio. Like I went video editor, spokesperson, producer, etc., etc. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Going good.
What's going well?
You know, I think my mind state is going well at the moment, yeah.
It's been a good day?
Not today in particularly, but not today in particularly. But I'm still happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like had this happened many moons ago, it would have really hurt my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the people who haven't watched the previous episodes, Adrian came through. He was the first guest on the podcast when it was still Usipili on the platform. Just before we made the change, it was the last episode of the year last year.
I got to close it up.
you opened the guest portion of it, and then you closed the year as well. So you're the first guest on Usipili on the platform, and you're back again now. So welcome to now Writings on the Wall podcast. Yeah, I know you had a bit of confusion. Like, why are you changing it? What is this?
Now it's lost.
Writings on the Wall. Yeah. So he was the first guest on the Writings on the Wall. Really liked the episode. We were just discussing now the things that I was finicky about, but you know, hopefully those things can be resolved today. But overall, the content of the episode was actually really dope. Like I watched it back a few days ago because I was looking for. There's a clip. You were asking me to send you like the short clips. Then there was a clip that I had cut, but I didn't cut the full portion of what we were talking about. So like, let me just go back and try to find that portion. And I found myself just watching the whole episode. This is a pretty dope episode. A lot of gems. But also on the first episode for Writings on the Wall, I mentioned, was the first episode or the second, I can't remember, where I spoke about, even though it was a really dope episode, also the first hour episode that I had recorded, I thought, and I mean, we did reflect on this in the after we recorded, that even though it was a dope episode in terms of the things that we were sharing, but we could have gone deeper in a lot more stuff, you know. And I think I was just in a space of saying, okay, cool, let's try to tell the story and give a bit of background of who you are. But we ended up just touching the surface of different stages of your life, you know, and we could have gone a lot more deeper. And I remember saying to you, the challenging thing with interviewing someone that you know, that you're like, what do you ask them? And you said to me, well, that's actually an advantage because you know, you have a bit more context, so you can go deeper in a lot of other stuff that someone else wouldn't be. So today I've brought you back to take you up on that offer.
Okay.
I don't really want to, because last time we spoke about resilience, and it was, and I think that's why we had to cover so many areas where it was like resilience when you were younger, resilience in varsity, resilience when you started working, and resilience when you eventually made the big decision in your life. But right now, I think I just want to capture you.
Now, in this moment.
You in this moment.
Okay. Fair.
Just who you are, understand you a bit more, just for everybody else too as well. Your story and what you have to say about it. And I think a place I would like to start at is, that's why I had to bring up the physio when you were giving the introduction, is something that we both share, which is the love for physio. And I'll say the love for physio. I'm not using it loosely. The love for physio. So yeah, in your words, how could you, or how would you describe physiotherapy, and where did that journey kind of start or came to fruition to bring you to where you are now?
So my physio journey.
Yeah, physio journey.
Yeah. So I've been a physiotherapist. I've been practicing for a decade now. It's crazy to say. Well, I stopped practicing, but I had practiced for a decade. I never wanted to become a physiotherapist. I mean, a lot of people you don't know what you're gonna study when you're at school. But what I actually wanted to do was to take a gap year to go play football. I wanted to go.
Is it?
Yeah, I wanted to play for Chelsea.
Did you want to take a gap year?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
okay,
I wanted to take a gap. My proposition to my parents, it was a failure, of course. But my proposition was, give me a year in England, in London. And then at that point, it was going to be arrive and hustle until I get into some kind of an academy, a team. I was hearing about all these people that were there doing a similar thing. I would just hustle my way there. But I felt I was good enough as a player to, go and play for Chelsea one day eventually. My parents were like, hell no, that's not happening. Pick something. Try again. Pick something. You're in matric now?
Oh, this is matric.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're in matric now. Pick something real. I was like, damn.
Real.
And then, that's when I was, I watch a lot of matches. I saw these two cats running on when a player was injured, and I was like, who are those guys? Oh, the physios. Oh, okay. So I was like, maybe I can use that as a way to get. But I had a vision. I failed hectically at that vision, but I had a vision.
So the plan was to become a physio, go to Chelsea eventually, and then when you're there, showcase your skills. You're like, yo, actually,
man, I don't know. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted the end goal to be. And then I think that was the first taste of real, like, fam, this is not gonna happen. If it does, it might happen another way. Go to UCT. I even tried to play for the football team there. It sort of didn't work out so well, and I was like, look, I'll play soccer over there. I think that was one of the first times that I learned about accepting that some things are just going to remain hobbies and passions, but not necessarily become what you actually, getting your career. So I had to make that distinction. Started working as a physiotherapist, obviously with all the lectures and stuff. Eventually got to a place where we're doing practicals, and in doing practicals, I was introduced to neurology. And I was like, this is actually interesting. The brain controls the whole body. The brain can be damaged. The brain can relearn. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And there's patterns to all of our brains. This is why a patient can come into a room and they present in a certain way of a pre-planned pattern that you've learned. You're like, hey, I know what the situation is. And you as a physiotherapist can assist the person to heal. Before it was, when you first qualify, you think that you are I'm here to therapize you. I'm here to fix this problem. You're not really there to do that. You're there to assist the healing journey. We are there as guides for our patients. And that that was when I was like, oh, I see what this job is about. We're not curative. We're not going to come and give you this one thing and off you go. And our therapy it's optional. I'm sure you've seen it many times. People either don't show up for appointments, or they get to the ward bed and they're like, hell no, not today. But it very much is a case of us having to showcase ourselves, and So I enjoyed doing all of that. Even as we started practicing, I was happy doing all of that. And that's when I found neurology in the community, because I was working within a clinic, which ultimately led me to my master's degree, which is in neurology. It's in strokes in the community. That I did in Alexandra. It was great. I mean, completing that, I felt a real sense of, this one was for me. I funded the whole thing in terms of, my education. I was like, I'm really pushing myself forward. I was very proud of it. And then I just didn't use it. I had a master's, whole piece of paper that says that, you are smart, but I didn't do much with it. And all this time I had music just running parallel to everything. And I wanted to give music a chance, but I didn't really know how to. So I kept forcing, okay, we're going to quit our job. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to become a musician. I wanted to be a next Timberland, produce for all these amazing people. And my story was going to be, wannabe soccer player turns into a physiotherapist who turns into a music producer and absolutely explodes. Again, didn't work out that way. I quit my job 2017. I decided, look, I'm going to go cold turkey. I'm not going to do any physiotherapy whatsoever. I started to miss it. But it was because I left not reluctantly, but I left with a heavy heart. I was like, I really do like this place. Bye. And then I left.
I don't want to cut you.
Cut me if you need to. The story is the same. The story is not going to change. So
I don't want to cut you, but I want to interject.
Yeah.
You wait 3. So in matric, you want to play soccer. You propose, hey man, to the parents, I want to go to England. They're like, nah, you're not going to England. Forget. Then you start looking up. Okay, you see these guys running into the field, like it's physiotherapy, and that's obviously in line with sports physio, like more in the sports physio side of things. You get to Cape Town. First year, there isn't any practicals. It's more like anatomy and physiology stuff, and just exercises. I think from what I recall.
Physics and chemistry, really bare.
And BP, becoming professional. So then second year is where you start seeing a bit more of, like, there's pain management also. You learn the theory side of neurology.
Yeah.
Second year. And then third year, the clinical start. I don't know, you guys do clinicals in second year? Like one day?
I think they introduced that a little bit later on.
Oh, okay.
But we would have times where they would take us out and they would be like, this is an environment where there are people like you.
So third year, clinical start.
Yeah.
But it's like half day clinicals. And I don't know if there is a neuro block in third year. Can't remember.
Yeah.
So the love for neuro did it start during the theory phase or in the practical? Theory. So when you start learning more about the brain. And then now what happens, like, was there a shift from the sports physio side of things into, like, straight into neurology? And you're like, once I qualify, now this is what I want to do. At that point, is the soccer dream gone?
Yeah. I'm seeing, because I think at the time that I wanted to go into soccer, the biggest players were a little bit older. It was back in the days when your best players were like in their 30s. That's when they were really peaking, 29, 30, 31, like there. And then you kind of like retired by the time you're like 33.
Yeah.
It's very different to how it is now, where the cats they're peaking and you're like, what are you doing at 20? So at that time, I was looking at other footballers and I was like, I'm still young. You watch TV and you're like, I'm still younger than that guy. I can do this.
Sure.
But then the ages very quickly just started to drop. And I was like, wait, this person's the same age as me. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh snap, these people are younger than me. And these are people who have been in academies. They've been playing at the highest level in whatever category they were in. There's no way I can match up to this now. Doesn't matter how much I gym, how much I train. I first need to convince people I'm still broke and I'm stuck here in Cape Town.
It wasn't working out.
It wasn't going to happen.
Another thing also happened that you told me about, the injury.
Oh my gosh.
When is the injury?
Oh my gosh. The injury was in... Yeah, that one closed it off completely. Fourth year.
Was it fourth year?
It was in fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that one was the door locked.
It's done.
That one was... I was already on my way to like, look, you're not going to get to that point, but that one really finished it off.
Okay, but by the time, by the time you already, because you were saying that some things are just going to be hobbies. By the time fourth year comes, you're already accepted, but also you had a mental shift from sports physio and more towards neuro. Then you qualify, you come through to Joburg to do your ComServe, and then you start working. You start at a primary, like PhD.
Yeah, in a clinic.
Primary.
Yeah.
And I was actually having a conversation earlier this week, just about the different levels within a healthcare professional, about like the different levels of care and the different ways that physio intervention like is in primary as opposed to like a tertiary hospital, you know, and the opportunities we have in primary where we get, for example, to do like home visits. I mean, they do home visits, meant to do home visits. We do home visits and we get to see the context with which the patients are coming from. You're coming through here, in the context, in Alex, what's your first thought?
Of Alex, the community.
Because now in varsity, there's a lot of hospital stuff.
Yeah.
Like the blocks are like hospital based.
Yeah.
I think I had an NMS block in a clinic, but it wasn't really a clinic. It was like those nice, proper, like very nice clinics in Cape Town.
Yeah.
You come through to Alex and you are in a actual clinic.
Yeah, in a community.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It was very, very different because I was actually in Woodstock. That's where I did my NMS blog. I think that was Bonteheuwel was where I saw community. But even then still, like Bonteheuwel has streets and like space. And like it's not it's not so hilly like Alex is.
Yeah.
And it's quite flat. You're able to see, you can breathe. Alex, one of the first things that I felt was congestion. I was just like, wow, there's a lot going on here.
Sure.
In the clinic, outside of the clinic, it's busy and it's big bad Joburg, is all this stuff. That was my first thought of it. There wasn't anything bad. I mean, even in the Eastern Cape, the times that I was with my friends and we would go to, say, a community, or even when I was super young, obviously don't remember, but we lived in a community as well. So it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, it didn't feel like that. It was very much, okay, I understand this is what's
happening.
Yeah.
And then as a therapist now, because now you have to tap into, I'll make reference again to me. I didn't have a community blog. So I did a mental health blog in a psych hospital.
Yeah.
It was my community blog, but it was in a psych hospital. So it was very different from how other people would have done community, especially how it's done this side. Never had done a home visit while I was in that blog. I did groups. Yeah. I did I'd identify a patient and then go see them and stuff, but it was not community based. So now as a physio, now you have to tap into a different side of you where it's not just mopes, massage or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot more community reintegration of those patients. What places are you tapping into now in order to thrive in that kind of environment?
I had to tap into a skill that I didn't like using, was expression, verbal expression.
Okay.
I was very much a wallflower growing up.
Hey?
Wallflower. I'd walk into a room, people wouldn't really...
Oh, okay.
They wouldn't notice me and I wouldn't want to be noticed. Okay. I'm just there to... Decorate and just... Yeah, so that's how I'd lived my life and I was happy in that space. But I realized that you don't get to people if you don't open your mouth. It's a very quick way to convince a person by using your words. And if you're able to articulate yourself well, even quicker, that whole experience happens faster. There's other ways that you can can do that through action, there's all sorts of ways that you can do that. But that was one thing where I was like, this is a sticking point. This is a problem for me. I don't like groups. I don't like talking to people. I don't like advocating. Advocating means I must go and then possibly get rejected. No. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do those things. Let's have patients who come to me. They want my services. Let's go. But very quickly, I realized that you do your best work when you can show that you care, but like in a really, really genuine way. And that oftentimes it takes you stepping forward and speaking up and expressing yourself.
Do you not find yourself getting consumed sometimes? Because once you get into a space of advocacy and having those kind of conversations, you can become, and you're genuine about it, it can consume you quite a lot.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. That was one of the reasons why I was like, I can't do this anymore, because it was you move from speaking for the people to being one of the people. Yeah. You have to take yourself there. Because when I'm in the community and I'm like, hey, we want this, and I become part of it, I take on some of that psychological burden And in taking that on, it allows me to sound more passionate. My people who I'm advocating for believe me more and they like me more. And there's more acceptance, which is what's required, obviously. And then the people who are listening, the stakeholders who I'm speaking to, they're also like, hey, this person's serious. They're not just here doing their job. Yeah. They're actually focused. But then for me, then the sticking point after that is then hitting a brick wall. Because you hit a brick wall, it's not really my community. If we, at the end of the day, I go back to my home and I go do my thing there. I've got my own problems. But I carry that psychological burden with me back to the house. And then you then go to another community and you try a similar thing. You pick up that burden. You go there, you pick up that burden. All these burdens, they weigh heavy
on you.
They weigh heavy on you. And I felt like at that point, which is a nice segue into where I then went. I was like, I'm in a role where I'm just treating patients and I'm just in the community as a physiotherapist. Maybe I can shift my whole world by moving into a higher position and actually trying to change it with, more power should equal more impact, right? Yeah, so I don't know if you want to go into that.
Not yet.
Okay, cool.
But I want to hold on to that.
Yeah, we'll get
I want to hold on to that. So you, back to what you're saying, you're carrying the burdens, obviously, because now you're part of the people. You also carry the love of neurology, which, look, I think as a physio, you know, the sports physios, different peds physios and whatever, adult neurology, peds neurology, different things. Your master's was on stroke. What exactly on stroke?
It was, you're taking me back now. We were looking at community reintegration of people who have had a stroke. So basically, if a person has a stroke, their world changes. Are they able to, through therapy, go back to their community and be a contributing member to the community? So I looked at community integration. I looked at quality of life. I looked at caregiver strain as well. So the caregiver, how much of a burden are they on their family? And then I looked at, if I'm not mistaken, whether they felt physiotherapy helped them. That was the physio component. Did they feel like they benefited from physiotherapy? And then the fifth thing, tying all of them together, was there any sort of correlation between all of this? So that was very stats based. So that's what the master's was based. And the setting initially was just going to be Alexandra, and then we spread it into Northern Joburg, and then from there it was literally just the whole district, the whole Joburg Metro district.
Do you mind speaking about the findings? Just briefly, what you found.
The findings?
Briefly. I don't want to get to things, because just what you found.
So the findings, what did we pick up?
Well, firstly, was the correlation between all these things?
There were little hints of correlation.
Okay.
One thing I picked up was caregiver strain was bad.
Okay.
That was something that was big. Majority of the patients were happy with physiotherapy. They liked the concept. They liked what we were doing. They felt like their quality of life, that one was iffy. It didn't really give us anything conclusive. And then the other thing, what was I saying? Give a strain, quality of life, reintegration. Yes. Did they feel like they had reintegrated? And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that, was it 50-50? Yeah, but there was a level of integration, but I then started picking out my own things. I'm like, obviously it's not part of the study, so I can't pick these things out. But it all sort of basically boiled down to how well is someone doing now physically? How well do they feel like they can contribute to the situation? And that then meant that they were obviously happier.
With outcomes.
Yeah.
Now you've done this research.
Yeah.
I'm just listening to this finding. Actually, I don't think we've ever spoken.
No, we haven't.
We haven't
never spoken about it. I don't talk about this ever. It's a part of my life. I shelved it.
We don't really speak about it. But now the reason I think I'm also bringing it up is because I'm just getting a lot of interest. I'm getting more interested in not necessarily research, but just the other side of things and asking more questions. And they always say that the road, what's it? The door into research is where you have to ask a question. You ask a question and then it haunts you, and then you want to suddenly go on this road.
Yeah.
You have these findings, and you also the research, you are doing your master's, because you had interest in neurology, and you're doing it in a community setting, and there's different factors like caregiver strain, which we do see in practice. The patient, that quality of life patients, which is essentially what you're trying to improve. Then patients are also saying this thing is helping. And I'm sure in the conversations you're having with the patients, they trust you, you trust them. It's you can see, you've seen the progress with what you've done. You've seen the work you've done. And I think as a physio, one of the most rewarding things when a patient just says thank you. Like, just thank you. And not even just from a research perspective, just having an interaction with the patient to say thank you, you've helped me in this way or form. I did, like for example, a stroke patient, I didn't know that I could actually dress on my own.
They thought it was a lost skill. They never get it back.
And you never thought it was possible for me too, and you've kind of given me, you've reinstated that hope or whatever, which is a beautiful, very beautiful thing. And I think those moments really do carry you further than you can be. Now you're doing the research, you have those findings where you see caregiver strain is big. You obviously want to intervene in that because you already have the advocacy thing happening. You also seen that physiotherapy is quite important. You having the patient interaction, and that's a beautiful journey on its own. You then decide that no, I'm trying to advocate for some of these things and I'm hitting a wall. The assumption I think was the reason I'm hitting a wall is because of the level that I'm practicing.
I don't have influence.
I don't have enough influence.
Yeah.
So now let me try explore something else. But that very same thing takes away something important to you. Do you want to talk about that?
So, and this is hindsight is 2020. You pick this up when you move from a practicing role, whether you're an architect or an accountant, doesn't matter. When you move from that role into more of a management role or a supervisor role. And it's a wonky concept, this whole thing of a promotion from there. You take someone who has honed their skill and become an expert at their skill. And their next level up, based on them becoming better, is to get them to stop doing that thing. Put them there to say, now teach people
how to do
to be what you were. Not necessarily to do that thing, but be as effective as you were, which doesn't take into consideration how I am as a human being, my soft skills, all of those things that people like to talk about they're part of me and my being, not the amount of work or whatever it is that I can do. So I'm taken out of that role and now I'm over here. And obviously I'm happy. Everyone's happy for me. Well, I hope so. That I've leveled up. I've moved up. Meaning, you can do more. But the first thing you realize is that you actually you don't do any of it anymore. And when I looked at the job description, I'm like, the things that you guys said that I was good at doing, I'm not doing them anymore. I'm leading teams to do them. And that's where being a good supervisor / manager / overseer of any kind comes in. And in most, unless you are a proper, like we're talking like a capitalistic, real company, there is very little to no training given to do that job well. Some people have that skill, it's innate, it's within them. They can, there's natural born leaders. They walk into a situation and very quickly they become that person. Which shouldn't be confused with someone who's just loud and can take over a room. There's a very big difference there. And you get people who aren't as, they're not leaders, right? That end up in those positions. Also, you get people who are leaders, natural born leaders, but leaders of a different kind. They're not vocal leaders. They are, I'm in the trenches with you type of leaders. Do as I do, not as I say, sort of thing. I'm not going to say much, but when you see me in action, it's going to inspire you to want to do what I'm doing. And we all know, I don't need to say that there are all those different types of leaders, there's a hierarchy to them. People like certain ones, and there's certain types of leaders that will always not rise to the top, but those are the ones that get seen. And they're like, those are the ones, that guy is a real leader. Meanwhile, the other ones, so I'm not going to classify myself as to who I am of all of those ones, but I would say that it was very quick and apparent to see that how do I put this? I wasn't vocal. I wasn't as vocal, because this is a whole different level of being vocal when you're in that position. And I was like, man, this is hectic. That means that if I shout from the rooftops and I keep drilling this idea home, whether or not I think it's right or not, this is it. Like, it didn't make sense to me anymore. And then even over and above that, the things that I was really passionate about, I'd reach brick walls, or there'd be red tape, or we don't do that way. We don't do it this way. We don't want to try that. We don't want to do this. And a lot of the times it was never said. It was implied. So if someone in that situation looks at what I'm saying now, they'll say, yeah, but you have the freedom to do whatever it is that you want to. Not really. You know how government is. The things that you're able to do, there's these invisible barriers that pop up. You start walking like, yeah, we can go over there. And as we're walking over there, we hit something. We're like, whoa, what is this? Yeah. And we're like, okay, it's fine. We'll just walk that way. And then very quickly you are able to map out that area that you can be within. You're like, this is actually not what I was expecting it to be. And it's unfortunate that government works that way. And I think that is what chases a lot of people, me included, away from that, because of that confinement. And it's a confinement of the system. I hate blaming the system, but it is powerful. I don't want to blame it, but I have to acknowledge that it's there. I have to acknowledge it's not right for me to say, no, you can do what you want to in government and sell dreams, because that's also what I was told to do. Why are you telling them that? I'm like, it's the reality of the situation that we're in. Anyway, going back to what you were saying, is that going through all of that, I had to deal with some of it before, but I was able to go back and treat my patients.
Sure.
Now, I go through all of this, the bureaucracy, the fighting, the squabbles, the red tape, these invisible walls. But then I don't have anything to go back to. And I'm like, okay, cool, but now where do I find my fulfillment? And that moment and that term is something that I'm holding very close to me right now, that word, fulfillment. Am I fulfilled in what I'm doing? I've had to, there's that we were talking about being selfish, and how selfless, it's one of, where is it?
Sometimes to be selfish is to be selfless.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's one of those things where I was like, yo, I need to think about, me. And it was at that point that I was like, look, there is someone out there who knows how to manage this position better than I can. I'm getting angrier every day. I know anybody who's really upset at a job will know this moment. Let me explain it. Let me paint the picture. You wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off, you turn that thing off, you lay in bed. You think to yourself, wow, I'm gonna go do this again. You sit up on the edge of your bed and you put your hands on your legs, and you're just there, and you take the deepest sigh. It's you trying to muster up what little energy you have for what it is you're going to face that day. And you're like, here we go again. And you get up and you start going. I was getting that more and more each day. And it was hurting me more and more each day, because it was bleeding into the rest of my life. And that eventually led me to a place where I was like, nah, I can't do this. From a guy who wanted to play for Chelsea, now I'm here.
Shouldn't work like that.
It's not life. It's not life.
Because then I also think it's the reason I was bringing up the fact that the thing that you fell in love with, which is essentially physiotherapy, and treating the patients, and advocating for the patients, and having those interactions, those real life interactions with the people that you're actually serving. It counts. I'll speak from someone who's clinical, where you'll be having a really terrible week or month, and then you have one interaction. Did I tell you about the interaction I had? It was this week?
I think so.
Yeah, like in the session, and everything just went right. Like, patient is crying, tears of joy. Tears of joy.
Physiotherapist.
So like, hey,
out here hurting people.
No, tears of joy. Just happy with, I looked at the moment, I'm like, this is how things would be like if the system worked properly. She was happy she had a knee replacement. She was happy about it. She had one, and she was waiting for the second one. And it was meant to be next month. And in the session, she gets a call to say, actually come through tomorrow.
Wow.
And that, I was like, what? Literally, like, the caregiver walked out, and I'm busy with her, came back, like, okay, your thing is actually moved forward for Friday, which is yesterday. So tomorrow we're going to hospital, and I'm like, now she's crying some more, thanking God, thank you so much, God, blah blah. And I'm like, this is such a beautiful moment, and how old people be like when they give blessings, they give. Nobody's that emotional. And I'm like, dang, bro. I'm like, damn, now you gotta make me soft like this, And they're quite grateful, because for them, your hands are blessed. And I think I sent you a text to say, this is actually a God-given, God ordained, I don't know, profession way. And if we can forget it. And you are now in a place where you were not getting those reminders, because now you had gotten to a position to advocate and do more. And now myself as a production who's having interaction with the patient, now I'm one with the patients. And you said, you left us to go there to say, okay, guys, we're going. We're going to pull you up. And now it's like,
wait, guys, hold on. let me get back to you.
Why aren't you? What's going on? Did they? Why aren't you? And now you're dealing with a frustrated me. And you may not get a frustrated patient, but you're getting a very frustrated me, which is now a staff member. And I'm not gonna get joy from you saying, "Hey, man, listen, we can't do this." Because I still have those great ideas, and I remember the conversation we'd have on the ground. I expect to have the same conversations when you're up there, but you're not. And that essentially is what got you to a plane where you're like, nah, I can't do this anymore. How long did it take for you to get to that point? Okay, let me actually say this. How quickly did you realize, after assuming the position, that actually what you thought is not the one?
I can tell you it took me a year. It took me 1 year. The reason why is because I'm a man of patterns, and I want to see if there's growth, we must start here. The next time we look, it must be here, right? If I know it's going bad, it's the other way around. If it's staying the same, cool, we're remaining stagnant. And what happened was, I got the role at the end of a year, end of 2020. So I started fresh 2021.
Yeah. Nice.
Nah, let's go. COVID has just happened. Let's push. Let's try and get out of this.
Sure.
We had our team meetings, set everything up, and I'm like, okay, cool. These are the benchmarks. This is everything that all the targets we're gonna try and hit. These are the things that when you're fresh for something, you're there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I go throughout the year, and we hit all of these, stumbling blocks. A few wins here and there. I remember the team we were working within was incredible. There were wins all over the place.
Yeah.
And then when I reached those meetings again the following year, and I saw the goals that were being set, my man, they were the exact same goals from the previous year. And I was like, this is weird. So we're going to do this all again. Okay, it is what it is. Went for it. Try to work through it. Work. This is now what, 2022?
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, towards the end of the year, I was like, no, man, I can see where this year is going. This year is going to end up in a position where we're going to start 2023 and we're going to do the same thing with the goals. And I mean, there's a whole host of other things that happened in between it. But yeah, I think, there were some incidents that happened towards the end of 2022 where I was like, nah, this is for me, this is a hamster wheel that I can very quickly get used to. Starting the year, and now I started, and it was weird because I started sounding like everybody else as well. I was using the same terms and I was bringing the same, like, you go speak in these high level meetings, you come back to your stuff, and I'm like, wow, Adrian, what you just said now was garbage. Even you bought it. And I was like, oh no, I've been sucked in. I'm turning into what do they call it in the Matrix? One of those agents. I could feel it. I was like, no. I need to make a plan and I need to bounce. I don't know if you'll let me know when you want to get into all of that. But yeah, those two moments were the beginning. So hearing those goals being set, seeing after a year that we're moving in circles, and then the few events towards the end of 2022 where I was like, this isn't going to change. If anything, it's going to become harder as time goes on. I'm not really for it. I don't really feel like we are, like I was saying, there's no progression. It kind of just felt like, okay, we're here. We might go a little bit down, we might go a little bit up, but the very following year, we go right back to where we were. So there was none of that, and I needed that.
Not a lot of growth.
In
September 2023, 16th of September, that's when I released episode 10. In the episode. I sound like those people, people that pull out receipts. On the 16th of September 2023. When we recorded the episode, you said to me, at the time that we recorded, you were still supposed to be at work.
Yeah. Until next week, actually.
Is it? Crazy.
I said it, and I said end of February 2024, I will leave my job.
Yeah.
But there were a bunch of catalysts that said, hey, we're not doing that.
That's what I want to get into. So you said, you said, I remember when you recorded, you're like, I was actually supposed to be at work right now.
I'm still supposed to be at work now.
Hey, maybe we recorded the next time. You're like, okay, now would be the time that I actually.
But it's literally next week, end of February.
You had said a goal to say, okay, end of February 2024.
Yeah.
The goal shifted.
Yeah.
To earlier.
Yeah.
Which it shifted to earlier. It was July.
June. It was around about June. Yeah.
2023.
I pulled it back by like 7 months or yeah.
Then it shifted again.
Yeah.
Now a little over a year ago, last year, you made a decision to say,
I'm out.
What is happening?
Oh man, you want to know the straw? Basically, the straw that broke the camel's back. I was sitting in a meeting. It was one of those high level meetings, and I looked around the room, and it was one of those days where I did the normal sigh in the morning, and I was like, okay, cool, we're doing this. Let's see. I even remember I was wearing my maroon scrubs. I remember it very, very vividly. Get to this place, sitting down in this room, and we're busy chatting. Now we're getting ready for this meeting. I'm like, something felt a little bit different about that meeting. And then we sat down in that meeting. And I usually look around the room to see people's body language, because what I've noticed, especially in those meetings, was that don't listen to what people are saying. People are usually talking nonsense. Look at how they're behaving as they're talking. Are they nervous? Are they anxious? Are they trying to get their point across quickly because there's a bit of an insecurity, or they don't believe what they're saying, So I was listening out for that, and I was like, this energy today feels different. And usually, to sort of fit in, I would say something every now and again, whether it's to make the situation more awkward, or to if I wanted to give a point that actually, validated what someone else had said, or if I wanted to give my own point about something that I think we could work on. But all those normal social cues, they weren't there. It's almost like I was numb in the room. It's like I was a fly on the wall, just watching everything happen. And then at some point, I made a conscious decision to not say anything anymore in that meeting, and to just listen. And it was building in my mind. I was just sitting there, just looking at everybody, writing a few notes. I think I was taking minutes that day. I was writing down some notes, and I'm like, this is all nonsense. And I just kept on thinking, we are wasting our time. We are humans. We are old. We are adults. We're here. This is not making sense. but we are all trying to make it work because of the bureaucracy and the powers that be have made it so that this group of individuals will meet here on this day to discuss this thing. And I'm like, at that point I felt like the walls were closing in. I did not feel good in that moment. And I remember we had a short intercession, a small little break in between. And I stepped outside to take a phone call from my wife's cousin. He is based in Italy. And we were just talking about podcasts. We were talking about all these things that really, it was almost like, you're in a dark space and then a small little crack of light opens up. Because I was talking about something that I really enjoyed. And then the phone call ended. He had to go somewhere. Closed up. And then in that moment, I was like, I can't remain in this space. This space is eating me up. It's changing who I am, how I'm behaving. When I go home, I've got this daughter who is absorbing everything I do. And this bad energy that's coming out of me I'm taking it home now, and it's being smeared in this beautiful house I'm trying to build. I can't do this anymore. Before the end of that day, in fact, after that meeting, I spoke to my superior who was also in that meeting. And I was like, fam, I'm out. And it's funny because when I said it, there were no questions, nothing like that. Maybe they were rocked as well. Maybe they were also disturbed. Maybe they had their own plans, whatever. But in that moment, it was kind of like I get it. Yeah, it was okay for everybody. Yeah, I get it. And even for me, it made me wonder if I was able to pull the date back by 7 months. Why did I have that initial date to begin with? Was it a monetary thing? Was it a mindset thing? Did I just want more time? Did I want to sit in this garbage for longer? I needed to go. And that's when I decided that what difference does that make? If it's money, we can solve that. Money is nothing. If it's mindset, I can solve that. I'll have time to solve that and heal. So being able to sit down and just have that moment, I needed that moment, as painful as it was. I remember driving home thinking, it's happening now. And I remember thinking, okay, now we really have to get our ducks in a row because there's no turning back from this point. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
You mentioned something earlier. You mentioned 2022 felt like you were stagnant. Basically, there wasn't any growth. You mentioned walls closing in on you. In the last episode, you mentioned a monster that was in the closet. And the monster would peek some points to see what's happening. And then the monster would come into the room and then go back into the closet. And then at some point, the monster was in the room. And they were comfortable.
Yeah.
And they were chilling. And you had also made mention of how it was starting to affect you as an individual, because you're not just a physio at work. You're a human. You have a family that you go back to. You have a kid that was very young at that point, a wife that also wants her husband when you get home. This monster's in the room is obviously shaking things up a bit. You were talking about how you would have lash out, and you're saying it is normal to have a bad day. It's normal to be right now I don't feel like this, or right now I'm not having a great time. But when it's brought about by something that can be avoided, it's like an issue. It feels like, nah, bruh, you should, yes, I'm upset, but I don't mind being upset, but you making me upset, you can't be the thing that really rocks my day. You can't be the thing that ruins my day or my week. It's not worth it. It's not worth the emotions that I'm feeling. You obviously make the decision. You're in the meeting, you make a decision to say, you know what, the walls have gotten way too close. The monster is getting way too comfortable. It's getting way too big, and it's having so much influence into my life. And this is not where I want to be. This is not worth it. I have made a decision. I'm out. It's you had thought about it before, but in that moment it was very instant. What are you feeling after? Do you feel like the walls opened up the moment after you said it? Or you mentioned the fears, hey, flip, what have I done? Did I just, or was it finally?
There was a release.
Okay.
And I don't know when you wanted to bring this up, but
I'll bring it up.
That would probably be the...
So the reason I was going to ask is that you said there was a release.
Yeah.
In the moment you're like out.
Yeah.
Then you get home. Mm-hmm. Is that where the entry takes place?
This entry is before, but it is kind of like the entry just needs the last moment to happen.
For
me to go.
Okay, can you have a look into the entry?
Right. Yeah.
Look into the
entry. So that's here. Hey, my diary. So I had this diary that I carried with me wherever I went. It stayed in my bag. All the meetings that I'd sit in, I would write in the front, and then all the diary style entries that I'd have, I would write at the back. I'd flip it over and go to the back.
Can I also make a reference to what you're describing?
Okay.
I was also going to make a reference to the unfinished product.
Okay.
So I don't know if people can go and have a look at that, because you re-recorded a video, released it last year, May. First thing to say that
I'm out.
Done.
Yeah.
And then in one of the episodes you were describing these journal entries. But yeah.
So the idea behind the unfinished product was actually the conversation that I had with my sister's cousin. That
sister's cousin?
My wife. My wife's cousin. Sure. Sorry, I'm terrible with those things. When people refer to my uncle so and so, those things confuse me.
Yeah.
So my wife's cousin. Yeah, it sounds terrible. My wife's cousin. We were talking about how people don't like looking at finished products because finished products they present themselves in a way that's close to perfect, if not perfect. Just because they've had time to refine themselves. If you listen to someone who's done amazing things and you ask them for advice, what are they going to tell you? Stick to your dream, hard work. They're going to give you generic answers, but it's not their fault. They don't remember. Or they don't remember how they felt in that moment, or they're trying to bury it, or they've healed from it. They don't want to go back there, or they don't want to scare the person that they're talking to. So my idea was more so to bring that to light, to say that I'm not perfect as I am. I want this to show me as the unfinished product. That one day, if I look back on it, it was more so journal entries for myself. I was trying to take this journaling thing and make it visual. Sort of pulled back from that because I was writing thinking I was going to be on camera, which sort of changed the way I was writing. Yeah. So if I ever do it, I want to have a lot more of this that I can just keep referring back. So now I feel, I've never done this before. I've never read anything from this book. So this is going to be, So, let me just go through it. This is the first journal entry, and I think it happened this was early 2022, I think it was. No, it was early 2023.
You don't date when you...
I started dating after like the third page.
Yeah.
So this was early 2023 or late 2022. I was having a day where I was really doubting myself. So the journal entry, I always write it from a perspective of me talking to myself, but in the first person. I'm talking to myself.
So when you write...
So I'm trying to encourage myself, but I'll say I am.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But it's how I should feel. It's almost like someone is inside my head talking to me.
Cool.
Sorry, yeah. So it starts where I say, I definitely need to back myself more and follow my gut. I am a very skilled individual, unable to pursue my dreams due to circumstances that I've put myself in. Unfortunately, no one is responsible for making me feel more secure in my abilities. This will only come from within. Sometimes it's difficult to keep pushing when I feel discouraged, but this isn't an everyday occurrence. So I'm just basically saying that I don't feel like this every day, but it does get tough. Some days are better than others. The mood of that particular day also depends on how well the business is doing. Everything is hinging on how well my business outside of physio is doing, because it can make or break my day. I fear that these feelings of anxiety will amplify when I'm working on my business full time. I often recall the days in 2018 when I would wake up at random hours without knowledge of where my next paycheck or opportunity would come from. 2018, I had quit work again. And that was one of the moments where I was like, yo, yeah, dude, did you make a mistake? Like, you had money coming in, things were going well. Why would you put yourself in this position? So it's almost like, if I quit my job again, am I going to find myself back in that situation and saying, you idiot, you've seen this before, what's going on? Without knowledge of where my next paycheck opportunity would come from. A part of me is more secure in my ability, but a part of me keeps saying that the game has changed. So 2018 to 2023, a lot has happened. You might just be too old, old dog. I have a child and a household to contribute to. So that's also part of the game that's changed. When I quit it's massive. When I did it last time, it was YOLO because it was just me. I just needed enough to eat and that was it. I was also living at home. This time is different. I'm in a house. There's a bond. There's a wife. There's a kid. There's things. I'm even more motivated to succeed, but I fear that my losses will really affect the family. It's not about me anymore. It's a risky move. No amount of security will make me feel totally safe, but I have to try. If I fail, then I'll just have to dust myself off, get up, and try again. I'll have no choice. If all else fails, then I'll still have my degree. I can always come back to physio. I've got this. This was me on a daily basis. I remember I tell you about mental chess, where I'm going back and forth between I'm leaving. No, I can't do it. I can't handle this anymore. Just brace yourself. You'll be fine. So it was just this back and forth, like, of feeling confident in what I was doing, and then having to, push myself through those feelings of insecurity. But then they would catch me on an off day. I'd look at my bank balance. I'd look at the business. Hey, you're not bringing in business. Then that monster would get big again. And I'll just be like, oh man, he's right. I can't leave. So in that moment where I decided to leave work, all of this stopped. The fighting stopped because the decision had already been made. Sounds like two people fighting about a decision that needs to be made. The decision's been made. So all of that stopped. All of it stopped. And I felt that release of like, okay, now that the decision has been made, what's the next move?
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure you look at me like, are you okay? Come back.
Yo, dude.
Yeah. Yes, it's real. Like, yeah. Yeah. Like,
what's up?
No. It's firstly, man, I appreciate.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Obviously, having to put yourself out like this. Reading a journal journaling is supposed to be like a personal thing, and just reading it out, and I'm just listening to it, and then there's a lot of things I'm feeling, a lot of relatability to them, but that's not really, that's besides the point right now. It's more so on, we've had conversations. We've spoken about the things, and when you're describing unfinished product, and I think I remember talking to you about unfinished product, where it's like, are you ready to do something like this? Because I think around your brand and like just who you are and how you usually present yourself, the assumption is that you've got it all figured out. You've always been the go-to person to ask questions, even in the music industry, to be like, yo, Silas, how do I do this? And Silas has the answers, Remember having a conversation, we also spoke about, what is the thing you're asking me about Sage, and like, where would you characterize it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were putting you in the Sage category because you were like the educator, the person who had it all figured out. And the first time we spoke about unfinished product, I was like, this doesn't make, like, it's, I was happy. I was like, damn. So you don't have it all figured out? So it sounds sad. I wasn't happy that you didn't have it all figured out. But you're human. Yeah. I'm like, damn, bro. Yeah. You too? Yeah. You know? And the vulnerability obviously opens room for, like, creates an opportunity for, like, deeper conversations to be had. And in as much as we've spoken about the doubt you were experiencing and whatnot, it's always been in, like, is it retrospectively, like, yo, man, like, I actually had a tough week, but now I'm in a better place. And hearing you read this, I think the reason it's hitting me a lot is because it almost takes me to that
moment.
You know, like, it's like I'm watching you, and I'm hearing and I'm seeing you read it. So it's like, it's you.
That's
like,
still the guy.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's taking me to the moment. And I think that it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Damn. You know? I have a different perspective though, because you're saying it feels like two people fighting. I wouldn't necessarily say, I mean, I don't want to disregard your feelings about your
injury. This is perfect. This is effectively therapy.
Yeah. About, like, your injury, like, nah, that's inaccurate.
What you meant was,
you know, it's a lot more. Maybe like having a conversation, looking at the mirror and saying, like, let's be real. What are you feeling right now? There's a lot of there's feelings of anxiety. There's feelings of like, you stress about, like, for example, like, the fact that your emotions are tied so much more on the business. Like, when the business doesn't do well, you also don't do well. Also, work is not helping on the side. So it's like, if I don't have the business, you know, what will I have? And then you also mentioned, I think in the intro, you say you worry that because you've done this before, and if you do it again and it doesn't work, the thing that you had tied your emotions and your feelings on would be the business. And if it doesn't work out, what does it then say to you, or what is it going to do to you? Especially now that the stakes are a lot higher. There's a family, there's a kid, you know. And so when I say I don't think it was two people fighting, I think it was just a matter of, let me look in the mirror, let's be real, what are you feeling? This is something that I really want to do. You know what you want to do. I want to leave the job, I want to do this a lot more, like, full time, which is fair, because this is where you find love, this is going to bring you money, and it should sustain you. And this is not helping me because now it's affecting my family. But at the same time, let's be real. From evidence, I've been here before, and it didn't work out the way that I thought it would. And having to come back to work, and we've spoken about this too, when you had to come back to work, the people who were watching you when you were out, and when you came back, there was feelings of, well, you know,
welcome back.
You know,
it felt like that. I think that I might have played into my thoughts a lot. I do that sometimes, where I think something's a lot worse than it actually is. Maybe people weren't like that. You know, for a majority of people, don't really care.
But at the same time, it's feelings that were very much present. Yes, maybe you were playing out of, this is what you think people are going to think, and then you're going to start seeing it, but you felt it's something that you did feel, and something that was very real to you at the point. And now you're at the same point again, a few years later, where you've gone back, doesn't work out, now you want to be out again. So the stakes are higher, you draw back, you make reference to that feeling, and you know, like, for example, if I want to leave now, I don't have a reference of how things could be, right? I'm fearful that I don't know how things are going to be. That's a negative. But you had an actual reference point, which is why I'm saying I don't think it was two people fighting. It was a person saying, this is what I want to do. I'm back here again. But I also know. I've also been here before. And there's evidence. We spoke about this thing about confidence. That confidence is just stacking undeniable amounts of evidence. And when you look at the evidence, you're like, I'm drawing strength from this because it's happened. And it happened like this. And this is where it's taken me. You can't deny it. You also had evidence. Unfortunately, the evidence you had was not in your favor. It was evidence faced, as I say, to say, my man, you can't do this. And so that's why I say, like, you weren't, it was literally you saying, oh man, and I'm actually quite, I'm quite impressed with the fact that you were still able to maintain a bit of positivity to say, you've got this. Because you go through the emotions, you outline them as they are, you mention the facts, there's family, there's a kid, there's a house, there's, all the things happening, but somehow you still had a bit of, like you had, I don't know, maybe it was like if I write it down, I'll believe it, but you still had a bit of, maybe. Listen, man, it'll work out. Where were you getting that from? Because from the evidence, the evidence didn't say it was going to work out. So where were you getting there? It's going to work out.
My days were very different. Like I said earlier, not every day was like that. And over here, it almost felt like there was not doom and gloom, but it was like, this person is down, like they're trying to pull themselves up. There are entries in here where it sounds like a completely different person. The day went so dope. I did this, 3 sales there, did this, that opportunity. Things are going well. I'm going to succeed. Things are going to go well. So, and again, this is in hindsight, is being able to journal allows that thing you're saying of almost putting little checkpoints in time to say this is how you felt, which is why I started dating like after the 3rd or 4th page, because I wanted to be able to go back and say that, look, you haven't been doing so well over the past 4 days. I checked the entries. I'm like, that's why. I'm able to go back and see. Or if things are going well, I'm able to go back and say, actually, this is why the days have been going well. A little bit of a documentation, because we forget, right? Especially when you have a bad week. The days sort of blend into each other, and then you're like, whew, I just came out of a rough patch. Meanwhile, that rough patch lasted approximately 5 days, and of those 5 days, only day 1 and day 4 were bad. And it was only 30 minutes on day 1 and 10 minutes on day 4. Meaning, out of all of that time, does it really make sense? You still have a lot of good that's going on. So, sounds very scientific, but it was the evidence that I had written down to say there is still good that can come out of this whole situation. And I had seen glimpses of it, and I was still...
Before this entry?
Before this entry. I was still having these thoughts. The entry just allowed me to solidify my thoughts on paper and allowed me to have a retrospective record to be able to go back and say, I felt like this the last time this happened. Let me see how I feel now. And then I'll write it out, be like, I see. I was able to draw a lot of conclusions about my own thoughts. Don't even know. I've never been to a therapist before, but I figure this is also what they have. They've got notes as to progressions that you've made throughout. So I always felt better when I wrote. The feeling I got when I closed the book, it was one of like, okay, let's do this. And I'd get back into the chaos of the day. And I must owe a lot of my sanity during that time through being able to write it out. This was a game changer for me.
The first line, I need to back myself more.
You've got a good memory. Your short-term memory is on point.
Yours is bad.
Mine is terrible.
Yours is terrible. I don't think I've ever picked up on it, but
that's bad. That's why I write everything down.
Yeah. That one.
What about it? Bruh, people don't tell you when you're decent at stuff. I don't feel like, especially in the environment that I was working in, I felt like I was good at things, but maybe I wasn't looking at the positive. I'm a pessimist deep down inside. It's quite cynical, actually. I tend to look for the bad stuff. I pick out the bad stuff. Woo, dude. I was working on feedback from my publisher this past week. The week before I received the email, I opened it up and I was like, that's a bad email, and I closed it. Gave myself a week, opened it again, and I started working through it. I was like, it was one bad sentence.
In the whole
it wasn't
email.
Even about me and what I did, it was about the sound that I chose. And when I listened back, I was like, that is actually a pretty bad sound. So I pick out the bad stuff. I pick out the bad stuff quite quickly. So anyway, I feel like that first sentence, I was putting myself down. Maybe you're not good enough for this thing that you're trying to do. There's people out there that are better than you, and that's why they are able to do this full time. There's people out there that just, it's not for you. You're not good enough. So there would be moments where I would do something from my gut, which I mentioned as well. I do something, I'm like, sometimes you get that feeling and you do something and you're like, that was happening quite a bit. I was like, I should trust myself. I know how to mix a song. I know how to make a beat that, this voiceover does sound good. I'm good at this thing. And it even changed the way that, beyond this point, it changed the way I started speaking about it, about my skills. I was painful. There were times when I was being, there's those people that are, it's a painful feeling when someone, you tell someone that they're really good at something and then they're like, oh no, yeah, it's not that good. And I would do, even if it was something that was outright like you've done it well, I'd be like, yeah, no, it's whatever. And yeah, I would do that a lot, and I sort of became more like, no, I can actually do this. I'm good at this thing. I can actually, push through with it. So, yeah.
It gets closer. There's this thing we say, which means a baby that doesn't cry dies on the mother's back.
Damn. Y'all are dark. Yo.
Right. Where it comes from is, I always make reference to this. One of the worst things you can have as someone who looks like they have it figured out is that people don't know when you need stuff. They don't know when they can or how they can be there for you as a person. Do you feel like you had that backing from outside, or were you solely dependent on the backing from like internally and the gut and seeing the evidence to say, okay, I'm clearly good?
Yeah.
Were you getting that?
I was, but I don't think I was believing it. This is me speaking in hindsight now. Because if I think back to, if I really put myself in that situation, I'm like, were people saying good things about what you were doing? And they were happy. There was even a colleague that I worked with. They had never spoken to me before. This person was like, you shouldn't be here. I saw something that you posted. You shouldn't be here. The level of that skill of that thing, you shouldn't be here. Go focus on that thing. Leave us here. And I thought nothing of it. I think a lot of it now. It was one of those moments where I should have been like, yeah, you're right. But I didn't internalize it. I didn't internalize much of it until I realized that the final decision of me leaving work didn't rest in how people expressed how they felt about me. So whether it is a positive thing or whether it is a criticism, then none of that mattered. Everything that I was debating with myself was literally down to whether or not I should make this decision. And at the end of the day, I was waiting for this clear-cut sign. The heavens open up like, you are dope. Yeah, move. But that never came, and I had to make that decision for myself without knowing what's going to come next.
That's what I was going to ask you now.
Yeah.
Do you know where you usually get that sense of approval from?
Do I know where I get it from?
Kid, maybe let me ask a question before that. This is, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to yeah. But anyway, there's something that I do, just to also share. There were things that, what is it? You know when you express yourself sometimes, when you express like your needs and don't have those needs met, you build a wall around how you navigate through your needs. And so other people might be able to meet your needs, but because you've built a wall so strong and so thick, it's like, I'll only be satisfied by their, I trust myself basically to take care of myself. And that can obviously create barriers in terms of, I can give you all the compliments I need, but there's a massive barrier between your compliment and me receiving it.
It never gets through.
Because of that wall. Are you conscious of the wall that you built? Or do you feel like you built a wall around getting approval? Or
Yeah, no, it's there. Again, in hindsight, like I've had time to dissect and heal in part. Okay. These are problems that are, I've spoken to my wife about this quite a bit. These are legacy problems. These are problems that were there before I wanted to be a Chelsea player. These are old things of how I behaved, how I was treated, how I saw things. I can take it back to being in high school. I can take it back to primary school. I can take it back to bullying days. You can take it all the way back. You can even take it, I'm sure, I don't know how far it goes back. But yeah, it's something that I am very, very aware exists. It's something that I try to work on. It's tough, you fall into old patterns quite quickly. But I definitely do know that for a compliment, I can't think of a time when someone gave me a compliment and I got like chills and shivers. I don't have that. For me, my first thought is, this is so stupid. My first thought is, maybe they don't feel that way. Maybe something lucky happened and they're going to take back their thought. I was saying that to someone actually about voiceover, because that one came, so it happened fast, right? The progression with voiceover. I was speaking to this one guy who is a voiceover artist. He says he's been doing it for like a decade and a bit. And I said to him, I was like, it feels like one of these days, it must have been 1,000 clients, 1,000 jobs I had done. I feel like everybody's going to come back to me and say, okay, joke is over. We all want our money back. You're actually really trash at this thing. It's a real thought that I'm going to be found out. With mixing songs, it was a massive issue. And the worst thing for me is that all of these things are self-taught. So I never had the piece of paper to say, you are certified good. And even with that certified piece of paper, I still don't, because I have a few of those in the cupboard somewhere. But even with those, I don't feel it. And maybe you can think of it as a gift and a curse. A curse in that, we've seen how it can be a curse, but a gift in that I don't stop. I don't stop. I don't care whether you give me a thumbs up, give me a 10 out of 10. There's a problem there somewhere. It's bad. Even now as I'm vocalizing it, I can hear how that can send me down into a very dark place. Even after a compliment. I don't know how it manifests itself when I do see what I define as success, because that could be a very dark day where I'm like, whoa, all of this is going to come crashing down. Hopefully at some point I get to work on that and I get to come out of that. But I can, To answer your question, yes, the wall is very much present.
Okay, and then it's going to lead me to what I'm... Like I said,
maybe I should put it away.
No. I appreciate it, man, and I think it gives a lot of context. Like we don't have to obviously dismantle everything right now.
Yeah.
But I think knowing what I do know now is then leading to the next thing where you made a decision. Cool, you're leaving the job. Very tough decision than I can imagine, but you've had to kind of make the decision anyway.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
We share the highlights of, okay guys, leave the job, it's better than, obviously, but it's not easy. What are the emotions between beginning of May, and now that you've had to go through and Yeah, can I go check if the thing is still recording?
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Yeah, I just need to. I saw it.
It's still there. It's still there.
Yeah,
it's still going. This guy's just like, I can't lose this. Nah, it's fine. You'll do a little intermission. Sponsor yourself. Put an advert for something in between there. Anyway, yeah. So we got merch.
We got merch, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying this whole thing. You're talking like May up to now.
Yeah. Now you've made this big decision to say, "Yo, dude, I'm out." You've also been quite. Like, for example, like with the unfinished product, you've shared a bit of the journey, like dealing with self-doubt, you know, the ups and the downs. We've had conversations. It's like, yo, dog, it's been a tough week this week, and then something positive kind of comes out. And I've said, like, even the pattern, the way that you would sometimes share things would always be in, like, retrospective to say,
last week,
it was a tough week last week,
yeah.
But now something good has happened, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like all those, which hits different than. Hey man, I'm in the trenches right now, and I mean you have your reasons why you probably don't want to talk about it while you're in there.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that you picked up, like the journey, the real reflection of the journey in the last? How long has it been? 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months. I'm not even counting. I'm trying not to count. It's weird. I'm trying not to count because I want to get to 2 years. My record is about 2 years of being out of work, so I want to get to that point and then I can start talking about it. I have a 1-year anniversary though. I must celebrate. Anyway,
we should.
Going back to your question, I want to start at the beginning. The first thing that happened, or the first reality, is that, and this is why I share what I share, is because a lot of people feel a similar feeling. They're in a job or a situation where they're unhappy. They might not want to leave their job. They might not have a side hustle. They might not have any of that stuff, but they feel like they're a bit trapped. They're in a situation, whether it be unnecessary meetings like the ones that I was in, or it could be something as serious as assault that they're too scared to go and speak about because they might lose their job that they need to feed their 2 kids. And there's a lot of that there, but there's a lot of that feeling of I need to get out. So what would happen was some people were coy about it and they kind of asked the question like that. Other people were very direct in like, what are you doing? I want to know more. Or like, how can I also do something along those lines? So that was the very first thing. It shocked me because I figured, a lot of people are like, yo man, I love my job. I really like the situation. I'm blessed. I get to wake up and I've got work to do.
Toxic positivity. Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, but then when I started hearing these things and people were like, yeah, it's actually really dope what you're doing. I like this for you. I'm like, okay. And they'll be like, yeah, it's something I've also been thinking about. I've got this thing. And there's a whole other world to them that they expose, that they show me. And I'm like, wow, what is all of this? Make it happen. Do something about it. So yeah, that was the first thing. I don't know what to do with that information because it's I struggled. After having gone through this, I'm like, bro, your situation is probably just as convoluted and like it's windy like mine. I'm not going to pretend to know what situation you're in, why you feel stuck, why you feel you can't leave. Sure. You deal. Cool. First few weeks were really nice. People were positive. They'd commend me and say, you've done a really tough thing. Family, friends, people I didn't know so well, they're like, yo, bro, full time. Living. Let's go. For me, I had been burnt before, so I already knew what was coming. There's always this period of initial, when things are still novel, when things are new, people are like, yo, what you're doing is dope. And you hear it, it's vocal, and then at some point it just goes quiet. And that it happened again. It always happens like that. And I'm like, where's all of that positive affirmation? Because that was what was, it kept me fresh in the morning. I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I did the right thing. As the cars are going to work, I'm doing the right thing by being here. When that stopped, because now everybody must obviously go back to their lives. I know I'm not the main character in your story or anybody else's story for that matter. You've got your own things you need to deal with. The position that I left needs to be filled or it needs to be, work needs to happen there. So life goes on. I'm not that important. So I went over there and I sat in the corner. I'm like, shit, I need to do something. And that's when I was like, okay, cool. Now, the first mistake I made the first time I quit my job was I didn't have a schedule. So I had this whole schedule with a tracker and everything that I was following to the T. And I made sure that I did it. I think I ended up doing it for 100 days, where I followed my schedule on a daily basis, and I kept track via Google form that I filled out at the end of every day that fed into an Excel spreadsheet. I needed to be that meticulous about that because that was a major sticking point for me. I was wasting days at a time. This was the first time I quit. So this time I did that, and that led me to being able to really fill out my day. I was busy. I was very, very busy. And things built up. They built up. I got ideas. I fulfilled on them. You know, things were nice. And then I realized that I needed to level up. We can't just be here just trading water. This needs to amount to something more, right? People need to also see, okay, I know, I can see it's moving. Mind you, it's still quiet. I wanted people to start saying things again, which I guess it's a thing, you know. Maybe it's a seeking of acceptance or approval or whatever. But then I realized that I needed to do small things like increase my prices. But then again, obviously, there's the insecurity, imposter syndrome that settles in. Eventually, I think we had a conversation where I made a hard decision to like almost double my prices. Yeah. And I was so fearful that it was just going to be end of the road, everything.
You were like, no, actually, you weren't that good anyway. So
we got someone else.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go with someone else. So we're like, oh, thank you for your time. I was expecting that. But I started getting like, yeah, okay, cool, let's go for it. And that was still me playing down my price. So if my price was, let's call it 1,000, and I doubled it to 2,000, I would still only say 1.5. There was something within me that was pulling my pricing back down. I think it's the market I was playing within or whatever it was. I don't know what it was, to be honest. But I pulled myself out of that. I was like, oh my gosh, there's clients out here at this price point. Maybe I can do it again. So I pushed my prices up again. I was like, oh my gosh, there's clients at this price point too. Let's go. And this is a discovery I made a few months ago. Wasn't a long time ago. And now I'm really working in a state of abundance, even though I know in about 6 months from now, I'm probably going to look back on this and say, yeah, what I was thinking back then, that was not abundance. This is abundance. I feel like there's this constant growth. The more I see, the more like barriers are being broken. Things that, you know, we think in as people who work, when you're salaried, you start thinking at that salary base.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that amount is good. If your salary is doubled, then you're like, oh, this is okay. If it's doubled again, then you're like, yo. Like, but then after some time, that becomes normal.
Yeah.
It becomes your norm. So that's sort of where I'm moving towards. Where I'm like, oh man, this is normal. Now we need to push for more. And yeah.
Yeah, wait. Whoa. I feel like I'm also just going ahead. But I just need to explore this abundance conversation. It's big. You're saying when you're salaried, you're operating in a limited resources type of thing. I wanted to send you a text on, I think, Thursday. Thursday. Yeah. About there's another quote. I just need to write it up here.
Yeah.
It says, no creature is strong enough that it is not influenced by the environment that it is in. So when I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm actually gonna write it up here. What it speaks on is, you may think like you are like you have your values and you're strong and
very
whatnot.
Stoic.
Yeah, stoic. You know, like me, I'm me, and I don't get influenced by social media and all that other stuff. But the environment you're in is actually very influential in terms of, like, it affects you in some shape or form. It can either limit you or it can open you up to so much more. So salary, you think this is it, and you think salary increase means, like, I can't go from this to double. Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to go from this suddenly getting double. Like, what? Like,
what does that even mean?
Surely I need to go through the necessary steps and pay fees before I can get to that point. So what breaks the barrier for you, like, from going from, okay, I need to now a state of abundance? And can you actually describe what the like operating in a place of abundance? Like, what does it mean?
Sure. And I'm not even a master in this thing. I've just seen my little world explode. But I guess that's what it is. It's where your world explodes. Because someone might look at what I'm doing and they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's not abundance. Abundance is $1 billion, whatever. It's when those beliefs, when they're shattered and your world explodes a bit. So my world exploded when I started. There was certain, I think there was some voiceover jobs that I needed to get done. And I got paid a lot.
How much?
But in relation to the amount of work I needed to do, and I'm sure you've seen these voiceover artists, they come through. No. And then that's it. That's the ad done, right? Yeah. And they walk away with bag. 50K, 40K. Yeah. It's not always like that. Don't let a voiceover artist ever lie to you and tell you that that's what they're banking all the time. That might have been their biggest job, but they also have to do some small jobs. But when I got one or two of those where I was like, I actually didn't work much. I just got behind my mic, did what I needed to do. Luckily for me, I'm an engineer as well, so I sorted my vocals out, corrected them, and I sent them off to the client. They approved. They were extremely happy, and I got the bag. So I was like, So, and that thing of work put in versus output, when it starts to, because the scale's like this, when you're a salaried employee, the scales, they're very close, you know. If I want more, I must work more, and something might happen or it might not happen, but it's usually here. To do this in terms of work and not do that much work, and then this jumps up there, it opens your mind up and you're like, yo, I can do this again. Yeah. I can do it in different industries, and I can do it like this, I can do it like that. And there's also something very different about synthesizing money from thoughts. It sounds extremely woo, but honestly it just means being able to create something and then sell it. That's all. It's very different to putting in hard labor. Hard labor is easy for us to quantify. We spend our whole childhood years understanding the fact that if you work hard, you're going to get high marks. Therefore, better things will come to you. You'll get more awards. Sharp.
Do more.
Do more to get more. So when that gets completely shattered, doors can open.
Just exposure.
Definitely.
Exposure.
Yeah, it's definitely.
We were having a chat because we had a hike this morning, and we were having a chat, and we were speaking about how limited our perspectives are when it comes to life. You know, like we go through life and you go to work, come back, you do the work, whatever you need to do. Like we're existing in this small corners that we don't actually understand what happens outside. And I was saying to him, as we were hiking, we were literally greeting everyone. And I was telling him, like, I've greeted more people today than I have this year. It was the end of February. Like in this
hike,
just this hike, I've greeted more people than I have this whole year. And so we're just discussing, like, just talking about how we need to expose yourselves to more, because the more you expose yourselves to, you get to see that you're creating, basically it's like you're opening doors for different opportunities. So if I knock, I'll knock. I don't know if it's gonna open. I'll knock. But I think because of that scarcity mindset, we let me knock here first and then wait. Because I can't knock here and knock here. Let me knock here. I don't want to be greedy and knock here. Because then if I move to the next door and that one opens, what if this one is going to be closed? And that's where we're operating. And it becomes so tough for us to break out of. I'll speak for myself also. Let me not say us. I'll speak for myself. You know? I've found that I've got a very strong scarcity mindset. And that really prevents me from putting myself out there the way that I should be, because it's almost as if it should be a knock, keep knocking, don't move away, just knock, because something they might open. And it's funny because the book I read, which inspired the name of the podcast, Who Moved My Cheese, is about that, where like it's two characters, they're in the station, they find cheese, they get all the cheese, it's nice. The cheese disappears one day, one character moves on, the other one stays there. And because they're thinking, if I live here, like, firstly, this is my cheese, they're entitled to the cheese, which is arrogance and entitlement, terrible. But also at the same time, if I live here, what if there's nothing out there? And I think what you've just described now is you have unlocked the possibilities of there is something out there.
There's so much more.
There's so much more out there. Yeah. So much more that you can't even comprehend.
Yes.
You know,
you don't need all of what's out there. You just need a
little bit of what's out there.
Yeah, and that's even still a hang of a lot.
You know, and it's a big thing. We also get stuck. You know, get hit by these things of the grass is perhaps not greener on the other side. Let me stop saying we.
It's you.
Yeah,
let's talk about you.
Don't project it, like, you know, bring everyone else into it. You know, if people do it as well, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But I do it. I'm like, yo, bro, like, what if the grass isn't actually greener on the other side? And I think initially when I was like, I want to have this conversation with you, is just to kind of explore what does the other side look like realistically. What does the other side look like? Not just the state of abundance, but it takes what is it taken for you to get to that point? Because you didn't just quit next month, boom, abundance. Oh my God, the world, it's limitless. No, it took being down. It took struggling. It took, you know, self-doubt, you know, imposter syndrome, having to navigate those. And initially I would have wanted to dive so much deeper into like those components, you know.
Yeah.
But this obviously created like a like this just it covered something that I didn't know I needed. And so you're talking about the state of, I don't even know, this happened for the second time. In the last episode
you lost your train of thought. I mean we can go on that train of thought of some of the hard stuff, because as you were mentioning the hard stuff, I just remembered a few hard moments from the last few months, and it's been tough. And I made a realization that, you know, sometimes this is a relatable thing. You know when you're broke?
Yes. Yes.
You know when you're broke, you look at your bank account, sometimes you're scared to open up the banking app. Yes. You think about, how are you going to do this?
When you open it in public, you dim it, make sure it's dark and nobody can see. People around you don't see it. You're just holding your phone like this and you're like, hey.
Or like the money hits your bank account and then you see like it's been rough for you. It's been very, very rough. That feeling, have you ever had the feeling just afterwards where you're like, okay, I'm not down there anymore, but I'll never let myself get back down there again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's this weird thing that we never discuss, but we all go through it. We were like, I will never put myself in that situation ever again. And that's something that I've had to become comfortable being around. Because at every single point of extreme growth that I've had, just before I had it, I had one of those moments where I'm like, I'm here again?
I thought I was done.
And sure, you can put things in place. You can have a little bit of extra money that you store to the side. Yeah. But life works in such a way that, hey, God will find a way to make use of that money that you have. And you'll find yourself in a position where you are a bit shaky again. You're like, man, I didn't want to put myself back here again.
I thought I was out.
Yeah. But then after that, the abundance that you see, you move to the next level. So I'm now trying to train my brain to be okay with that, because when you get into that mode, what do we usually do? What do they call it? Mampara week. You start doing where you start doing things to yourself that are out of character. You start doing things to yourself out of character, and you start hurting yourself because of it. Right? I can imagine what you would do if you could redirect that energy to say, I'm broke. Let me get on Google and just Google ways, making money. How do I hustle? Where do I find this thing? That way, when you do get a bit of cash, then you're able to do something. It sounds like it's very airy. I'm trying not to sound like these gurus we're hearing about now, but it's that redirecting of energy. So if I'm able to do that, then I win so much more, because in that moment, that valley before the rise, the more work that can be done in that valley, the bigger the trajectory. Exactly. You end up in a much better place, and it really it feels amazing when you it's dope, and then you obviously get to that point again, and that becomes your new normal, and then you play the game all over again.
Did you ever have a month where you're like, I won't be able to pay some of the expenses off?
can say that it happens, and this is a tough one, but it happens every month. This is not a salary where you do your work regardless. At the end of the month, there's a contract that states, at the absolute least, even if you fire me, I'm still getting this month's salary. There's that thing. For me, as it works now, every job that I do is like this, and it's just stacking and stacking and stacking. I'll be honest with you. My jobs come from, it's hundreds and thousands that are stacked. So not hundreds of thousands. It's not hundreds of thousands. It's 100 rands. It's 100 rands here for jobs that I'm doing. If I'm mixing and mastering a track, it might be a few hundreds there. So it's not out of this world wild prices. Same with voiceover gigs. It's cool if you get, it's dope if you get 7K for a gig, but is that going to cover you for the month? No. It's cool if you get 20,000 for a gig. Is that going to cover you if you don't get another job in the next 5 months? Of course not. So you're always thinking, you're in this mindset where you're like, yo man, where is that thing gonna come from? That next thing gonna come from? So when I realized that it was happening each month, even on months where I had a bit of runway, I was still feeling that way. I then I came up with ways of recurring income and almost securing that basic salary.
Okay.
So there's certain jobs and there's certain people that I work with that already like bump me up off of zero.
Okay.
And those ones I know, okay, sharp, rent is covered at the studio, food is covered over there, at least all my expenses are covered. And then from there, I can then start using the rest of it to build and reinvest back into what I'm doing.
And I think maybe that's the other side of freelance that people don't actually talk about, because as I'm listening to him, like, I don't think I want that feeling. I don't want that anxiety of, I don't know where the next pay, not even the next paycheck. I don't know where, if I'll be able to meet the, meet the bills. And there's 100 rand, 1,000 rands, and whatever, and the odd gigs of 7,000 or whatever. They're cool, but damn, every day I have to live saying, okay, from the first, I have to start first 100 rand. Where do I find? The second month, like I can assume it can be quite consume like a lot of like tiring to like the energy consumption. But I think what you're just saying now. It's also as important to set a base for yourself, because I mean our base, when you as a salary earner, the base it's set. Someone gives you
your salary.
Yeah, your base is okay. This is the base, and if you want to add on, you can. But I think when you're freelancer, what usually makes it a lot more sustainable is if you try to set that base and then you build from that base. And you can have good months where you went straight through, or you just meet the target that you have. But it's as important to have that kind of base. And also I think it helps because you also what's this, multi-dimensional. Like you have many things. Like for example, you have like when you did the intro, voiceover, video spokesperson, music producer.
Because some months are down. Yeah. Because some months are down in different things.
Exactly. So if the production is down, then you can put a lot of focus on this, and then you can also build clientele. So let's say you have a client for voiceover that every month wants you. You have a client for a spokesperson that every month, whatever, they've got you. Then you the last episode you spoke about physio and how you started using your masters, because you remember you were saying that you don't really put the masters into practice, but from doing the masters you were able to think more, and you were more analytical. You were like your copywriting and what was it? Data. Data collection and analysis of the business and stuff, and that has helped you quite a lot.
Definitely.
Also writing. And there was a time, I don't know if you still do do copywriting for thingy. So it helps having all of those things in place. And if this one is not lacking, and I think now by month, okay, you say you don't account, but I think by this point you can also it's important to do monitoring and understanding the seasons for the different areas. Because then if you're focusing so much on production because you're passionate about production and it's not production month, then you're not gonna meet your bases. Like if you're like, I'm feeling motivated to do music this month, but it's not the month for music. Maybe September would be for music, and then building up for December, and then voiceover is quiet in December, but it's gonna pick up in January. So what can you actually use December for? So planning ahead, but obviously that takes you having to be in the in the industry and seeing, okay, this month is good. I think maybe 2024 should be a better year. in terms of?
It's already a better. Yeah, it's already going a lot better than that, dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's trends and stuff you can pick out. I'm just thinking like actionable stuff for a person. Trends can be. You can pick them up while you're still working your job. So you don't have to go like this thing of mine is it's not all the way crazy where I just threw in the towel, I quit my job and then I went into this thing. I was doing it before. And I was picking up trends from before. So I already knew what January usually looked like. January is usually pop. That's why I'm saying to you now it's great because my January was already a lot better than So the trends I was picking up from long before, but those trends are very, very important. You need to know what your business is what you want it to do and realistically what it can do. Then the other thing is before leaving, another thing that I did is I made sure that there was besides the runway in terms of finances, it was having 3 months of evidence to say that whatever it is that I want to accomplish, I can do so for 3 months in a row. Make that amount, sharp, we're good. And then I was able to go. It really did. Those little things, as little as I thought that they were, they really helped solidify the choice. I don't give it enough credit, the amount of prep that was done before. And I'll be honest, it wasn't massive racks that were saved up. It was just enough for a couple of months so that even if I'm down in the dumpster and there's nothing coming in, at least the people at home are able to, like, life can continue to move on. I will be in my fields by myself and I can deal with it. I can deal with that.
The L's.
Yeah, I can deal with the L's, but at least the household can continue to move on. Yeah, dude. But those sometimes when you're in it, it can be very lonely, especially those moments when you're feeling those L's. Yeah, no, it can burn. Like I'm thinking now, at the moment, it's not L season at the moment, but it is kind of. It's that I feel I'm in a valley at the moment. I can feel it. I can feel the valleyness of where I am at the moment right now, and I know that in the next couple of months, I'm hoping somehow, in some shape or form, with all the opportunities, all the doors that I'm knocking on, that one will open up and there'll be that abundance again. I know it's gonna happen. How it's gonna happen, I don't know.
You don't really
I'm just hustling, and I've got a trajectory, and I need to go there, and I'm hustling here. I know what. Something's gonna come.
You mentioned it, and thank you for actually bringing up for mentioning the what's this? What do you say it is?
The runway.
The runway. Yeah. How important the runway is, because someone might say, I'm done. And they're out, and the next month it's like, damn. Like Adrian said, he decided in a meeting to be like, you're done. So what exactly does it mean? But I think you also touched on it earlier to say you had planned to leave end of this month, and because I think it was mostly like financial and stuff, and you realized if you could move the date 7 months earlier, then maybe it wasn't all finances, and somehow it's worked out. It doesn't work out for everyone, but somehow it has worked out, and I think the prep behind it, one method, and most importantly the fact that you had evidence from before to say, I had done this, I had this analysis, this is what I could somewhat predict. So even the drops, and when you mention the values also, it's like even the drops, a friend of mine will say this thing to say, may we experience the highest highs and the highest lows. Which means the lows we're experiencing right now, this is the lowest that we can be. The next low I'm going to be experiencing will be a low on a higher level. Not.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yes, higher highs and higher lows. Yeah. So if, for example, right now I'm down and out, and I'm like, this is the worst it can get. Basically, this is the worst it should get for us. With obviously being hopeful to say we are going to take L's also in the future. But the L that we're going to be experiencing then, at least we'll be more equipped in understanding and managing them and navigating them. And if something was supposed to put you down, would have put you down 2022, it's not going to be as tragic this year. You still have the same challenges as you will in any level that you are in, but it won't be as tragic as it would be if you hadn't gone through what you had gone through, type of vibes.
Yeah, so you have, I think it can be more devastating. Going through a low, even if it is higher than the last low, Because like I'm saying, with that whole Mampara week and not having money, you look back and you're like, but I thought I wasn't ever gonna I wasn't gonna come back here.
Yeah.
And then you get that increased disappointment in the fact that you are having this low again. Maybe not as low as before, but that low was never your benchmark. Your benchmark was to not have that a low.
So would then a better strategy or a mindset to adopt would be the lows will come. Don't think because you are making progress you'll be at the absence of an L or a low. It's just, it will come.
Yes.
It might, for example, actually, and because you're playing in a different league, the low might, for example, let's say you are 10,000 Rand in debt now, and that's like, this is the lowest you can get. You get to a different level where you're now 100,000 Rand in debt.
Yeah.
You know, you're operating at a different level, but also the way that you would have you're like, maybe that 10K was actually nothing, but you are now the reason you got into 100,000 Rand in debt is because you're playing at a big league. It's important to kind of know those things, to not say, it was 10K, now it's 100K, I've messed up. It's over, I'm done.
It is. It's like, I think in terms of trajectory, it would be like, if you do go, I don't know if you'll see it, but if you go up, that if you come down, don't expect to come down to a higher point. Understand that it's not like that. It's more like that. So it can you're lower, you can be
lower.
Ask the Forex guys, they'll tell you. You want a big account and you want to bet big, there's an increased risk for a massive win, but at the same time your loss might be even more tragic than what you would expect. It's just knowing that sometimes all you really need is one or two really big wins. I mean, if you speak to any of these big business owners, they didn't win at everything. It was losses, and then one. They just needed to be right once, or they needed to be right twice with a business, and then that became their new low. Now they were able to bet even more the next time they played that game, knowing that should they lose everything, which is another question that they ask a lot of really wealthy people. If everything was taken from you now, forcibly taken from you, but you remained with your skill, and it's a no-brainer for all of them. They were like, yeah, I'll be able to get it back. That mindset and that opening up, nothing has really changed tangibly with them. Their goods have been taken away, their house has been taken, all the stuff has been taken away.
But they know.
They know. And that's all it is. It's just a case of knowing. So why can't I know now?
Yeah.
So opening up your mind like that is, sure, yeah.
To conclude.
Okay.
To conclude. Let me check again if this thing is still recording. Imagine you to conclude. Yeah. We should be wrapping up.
Yeah.
Otherwise it will start. It's already giving me warnings.
Yeah.
But to conclude, what are we doing with business and freelance? Right? What are you currently doing right now? Any plans for the year? And then the last one will be just to leave something on the wall for the next person or someone who's watching.
Okay, geez, that one I'll need to think about that one a little bit.
We can write. It can be. It doesn't have to be on.
It doesn't have to be on camera. Yeah. Okay, because I've got a lot in my head.
Cool.
But yeah, so let me go.
Business and freelance.
Yeah, business and freelance, and then what I'm doing. So with business and freelance, the whole idea behind what I'm doing is it's a follow-on from Unfinished Product, in that it's an idea that's forming. But what I wanted a repository of information, like a library that lives online, that speaks for me if I can't speak for myself. Speaks for me in terms of what I've done, because I foresee where this can go, what I'm doing now. It couldn't turn into something extremely huge. It might not. This is me down-talking myself again. It might not, but it can be extremely huge. And I'm kind of making life easier for future me, that I don't have to go back and reflect. I have written down blog articles explaining what my mind...
You've left writings on the wall for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, bro, you are so proud of this canvas. But it's good. This is exactly what it is. This is exactly what it is. It's writings on the wall. Yeah. And business and freelance, the reason why it wasn't like, because I have a website for Silas Beats. I've got a website for voiceovers by Silas, but it's not a case where that's all I'm going to be doing. Who knows, in 5 years' time, I might be working on greenhouses where I've got plants and I'm doing. I still want to be able to create that website, but I don't have to change because I know what it means to build a new website, do all of this, do all of that. Business and freelance allows for this to grow, and it can pivot and grow and pivot. There's actually a page, I think it's the About Me page. I wanted it to be a bit different. Instead of just saying this is what I do, it's actually like a timeline based thing of this is what I did back then it moved into this, then it moved. It's like a bio sort of thing, and then there's blog posts, and then there's links to my websites, and then if there is anything that I'm trying to sell, I really haven't gotten to that point yet. I need to, where I'm like pushing a product, buy my whatever it is. I really don't have anything. So that's business and freelance. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to not need to actively work. Okay. I'm trying to remove myself from I can't even call it the rat race, because I'm not running the same race, a typical rat race, but there's still rat race like elements to it, in that I'm waking up in the morning needing to push and do whatever. So I'm working on passive income. It's something that people always, passive income. In music, I'm fortunate that there really is a true form of passive income in royalties. For a writer, that might be in books, for whatever, it might be interest on stock, whatever it might be. With music, what I'm doing or what I'm working on at the moment is a concept called Sync 2028. Yeah. Sync 2028 it started now at the beginning of 2024, and it's a 5-year project to completely replace my income with royalties. Sure. I am in the process of working on various albums of various genres of instrumentals that I'm comfortable making, and also not really. I'm trying to branch out. I'm pitching to music publishers. I'm literally pitching to anybody who will take it and then make that music go. Old publishers, new publishers, whatever. And what I want is, as the years go on, I want that royalty income to grow and grow and grow. And it can grow exponentially just because of usages that happen from your music. I've seen it because I've been doing this for 10 years already. So I've already seen what 10 years can do of me with my foot on the pedal every now and again. Whereas now I want to say, okay, cool. What happens if you actually, how they say, like, dude, what if you had all the money to do that thing that you wanted to do? What would you actually do with it? Now I have the time. Sure. I've got it now. Now that I have it, what do I do with it? So now I actually want to give it a good go and see if that works out. And if I can do that, what that does is it opens me up to then having the freedom to invest more. Things like property, I'm trying to pick up a few more of those, and other things that are not necessarily based within what I'm doing. The first thing is obviously it's diversification of income, but at the same time it's also I get to grow in a different facet, and it'll be a completely new story that can then feed its way back into business and freelance. You see, so there's that whole thing that I'm trying to build, and hopefully in year 5, so it's 4 years, make 220 beats. So it's 20 beats every month, January to November. That's 220 beats in a year. 220 beats in a year for 4 years. That's 880 beats that I'm trying to get placed. Doesn't have to necessarily be 880. I know that that's not, but they say aim super high. So even if it'll be less, but
880.
Yeah.
Put 880.
880. And then in year 5, that'll be the year of me doing almost like a recon. I can go back into these ones, any of the ones, because they're not all gonna get placed. Sure. In fact, most of them won't get placed. But I can go back in, I can start piecing out new albums that I can start sending out for placement again. And at that point, I should be well past an amount of money that I could conceive. I'm hoping that I'm at that point. Yeah, so that's the goal.
So the aim is to you right now you feel like you are in the center of the business of freelance, and you're working towards having your hands a bit off and things happening around you as well. Cool. Anything else? In conclusion, we've got Sync 2028.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have this conversation again 2028. See how things are going.
Yeah.
Business and freelance, like you said, it's for me it sounds like it's one of those limited. It's limited, limitless.
Shows like limited. Yeah,
limitlessness.
Limitless.
It has a limitlessness component because everything you'll be doing will kind of be feeding into business and freelance, whatever field, whether it's property. If you come back to physio, it'll still form part of business and freelance. So that's the music, and then voiceover is obviously part of the freelance, and spokesperson gigs. People getting hold of you? This is the typical section of the podcast.
This part. Yeah. Silas beats. Silas? AdrianSilas? I don't even know which would be the best. Business and freelance?
Yeah.
I think just
business and freelance.
I think Silas beats for the time being. If you find a little bit of me, you'll find all of me. I've connected it quite decently.
Yeah. I think let's say Silas beats on Instagram, and then website business and freelance, and the business and freelance has everything.
Has everything.
From what I've seen. So appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. This has been 2 hours.
Oh my.
But yeah, I'm happy. And yeah, man. Like I said, I hope you get I'm pretty sure people have gotten quite a lot from this. It wasn't for them. This one is definitely for me. This one is definitely for me. But whoever you are and wherever you are, if this is for you, I hope it finds you. Appreciate it. Solidi.
This is the part where